1960 Bugeye. Thank you. So Bugeye Sprite tires are always a bit of an adventure because we are so spoiled by radials. They're so much more supple, but there's something very just fun to drive on Bugeye Sprites. They're a different ride quality. I can only describe it as vintage. Once they warm up, the car tends to be a little more stable. The rubber gets softer as they heat up. This one, the idle is a little low, so we can fix that pretty easily. All these cars, the idles will be low when the oil is thick and cold. As the oil heats up, the idle will raise. So much like the tires, pretty much everything is nothing like a modern car where the computer is managing the mixture based on temperature and altitude and humidity. Everything is just all barometric pressure. Whatever a computer is monitoring for injection, we got none of that here. We just have basic twin carburetors. Pretty crude, but they work when they're set up properly. This car has the H1 carbs, the original Bugeye carb setup. Our videos, unlike a lot of the 1275 cars, this one goes just fine. It's spirited, but it's definitely not as peppy as a 1275 Bugeye. Again, if you want that original vibe and more of an accurate Bugeye experience, then this would be the car for you. If you want more of a performance experience, then a 1275 powered car is a better choice. Notice that I'm always in these situations. I'm in the middle of a busy commerce road here, and everybody is behaving, but you just want to have an out. So I wouldn't drive right up on the back of this CRV because I can't get out of the way, and I'm looking in the mirror. I wouldn't be in neutral if I didn't see there's a big air gap behind me. But as cars come closer now, at least I can do something. It's not ideal, but if I see somebody kind of aiming for me, I've got an out. And this is a good motorcycle technique that applies well to classic cars as well. And turn signal is here. Fortunately, I see our blinker is out, and so we'll probably need a new flasher. The flasher units on these cars are also very old-fashioned, same theme. It's a bimetallic element that has to heat up, and sometimes these flasher indicators, they won't work initially, but let's see if later on in our drive it comes to life. And I'll put the lights on also for a little more visibility for oncoming cars so that everybody sees us. So we go through a lot of flasher units in our company. The non-synchro first gear, so you can start in second when you're at walking speed, which is pretty much what I did there. You can also step on the brake and come to a full stop and engage first. It's your choice. temperatures coming up to about 175, which is nice. Up to 190 is fine, or even 195 is fine. These gauges, see prior comments, are not the most accurate at times. On some cars, we find that they're a little bit off, but you're kind of looking more relative than anything else. If it's climbing, it doesn't really matter what the numbers say. Climbing is bad. You want it to sort of be stable in that 6 o'clock position. Video that Austin Healey used to market this car when it was brand new in '58, with a race car driver driving on a wet track in basically this exact car. Same bias plies, same size, same power, same transmission. You know, basically a brand new stock Bugeye, and this drive makes me think of that video. We'll put it on our website in the post for the car called Calvin. If you look on our Bugeye Guys website, you'll see this car, and then embedded in the copy will be a video of that early test drive. But it's fun to me because I watch that video and you see this guy in 1958 driving with just like mad, reckless abandon on the wet with bias plies and just having a blast sliding the car all about, and that is part of the fun of these authentic skinny tires. I love the horn. The original horn was this little Roadrunner meep meep horn. It's really adorable. Not terribly piercing for someone wearing a pair of headphones, but it's very adorable nonetheless. We put air horns in a lot of our cars for safety, but there's something quite charming about these horns. It's all 45 horsepower at work. Nice to have a working fuel gauge as well, and this one is accurate again within reason, I should say. You always with these cars want to run them down to about half a tank and fill them up, and it's a 7.2 gallon tank, so if it says half and you take 7.2, then you congratulate yourself for stopping at half a tank. We've had more than a couple clients run out of gas because they weren't kind of sneaking up on empty with their gas gauge, you know, in the modern car where it says you have 126 miles till you run out of gas. Obviously, we have none of that. We have a float in a tank that's swimming around in there, sometimes even full of gasoline. If it's a plastic one, we change them all the time to metal, but the plastic floats are attacked by ethanol and they sink. So gas gauge readings on these cars you always need to take with a grain of salt, and you use the trip odometer to verify. And in a Bugeye, if you figure 25 miles to the gallon, you might get 35 with a 948 car like this. But, you know, 7 times 25 would be 175. So if you go 130 miles and fill up, you then see if you took 6.9 gallons, you know you went a little too far. And if you only take 5 gallons, you do the math of your range going forward. So always best to sneak up on this stuff in a Sprite or an old Triumph or whatever. You just can't assume a lot of accuracy with the gauges. They're just kind of relatively accurate. If it's full and you just filled it, you're good. And if it starts to come down slowly, you don't know if it starts moving at half a tank or if it's actually accurate. But every one of these cars, there's a personality to almost every component, which is kind of part of the fun. We have a personality to these tires and to this gearbox. and this gas gauge and this horn. And I think that in many ways is why it's so interesting doing what we do. After more than 400 of these cars, it seems like they're never the same combination of quirky personalities, and that's what makes it very entertaining and charming. Driving this car with bias plies and a 948 engine, it's a very different experience. You have to be a little bit smarter about how you apply the power and a little bit more mindful of where the traction, where these tires break free, and that's what makes it very interesting. I've driven this turn, 1,000 times in a high-performance Bugeye, but in a basic stock Bugeye, you just work a little bit harder in a different way, and that's kind of the fun of a vintage experience. I suppose if you ride motorcycles with drum brakes in the front, old motorcycles, you are similarly smart about how you use the performance of your machine. You're using it within the limitations of the day, and that's very much what this car represents. Brakes are all brand new on this car. The hydraulics and the brake lines and everything have all been renewed, and they perform nicely. Shifted a little too fast there into third. These smooth case transmissions, you need a gentle touch. I always tell people that you want almost to let the gearbox sort of pull you into the gear instead of forcing into the gear. If you rush the synchronizers, they will gnash on almost all these old cars, whether you're driving an XK120 or, an early MGB, all of them, you have to be kind of, again, in relationship with your gearbox. It's not just you're on the phone and mindlessly throwing the shift lever about. You're kind of communicating with your gearbox and with your car in a different way than most people are in the modern world. Hello, UPS truck. So, shifting a smooth case gearbox, sort of a beat right there, and then it goes in. Instead of just 2-3, it's kind of 2-3. And if you do that, every gearbox in an old Sprite or an old Morgan or whatever it is, it will thank you and last that much longer. If you're getting a gnash in your shifts, you're going too fast. You need to change your technique. So here's 60 miles an hour, again, relatively speaking. We don't exactly have a GPS to back this up, but it's indicating 60, and that would be about 3,800, so it's about right from experience with a lot of Bugeyes. And even with bias ply tires, we have a really nice, stable ride. And it's kind of nice to see, the fuel economy. I wouldn't be surprised if we're getting in the 40s with these little tires. There's just not a lot of rubber on the road compared to a radial. A 165 radial is a fairly good sized footprint. This is more like a bicycle tire going down the road, and as a result there's less rolling resistance and more fuel economy. But it's nice to feel that they're stable and that the car isn't wandering or shaking. They're a little bit softer than when we started our drive. It's probably 60 degrees out today. It's not like the asphalt's burning, but it's warm. They're warm enough from friction that their contact is nicer than when we started. And even that is part of the fun of this early vintage experience, is that who would think that you have to have a relationship with your tires as they come up to temperature? If you're a Formula One driver, yeah, but for most of us in our SUVs, it's not really something on our minds. But with bias ply tires, it's all part of the awareness. When you go out for a drive, you know, you have to decide. Do you like a relationship like that with an old object, a nostalgic object? Does it bring you back to a simpler time? It does for me. That's why I like to make these videos. So there you have it, a bunch of information about a very nicely prepared vintage car. And we're really grateful you could come for a drive today with me here at Bugeye Guy.